not only do we take our understanding of reality from the God that we worship and that everything is relational, this God who exists in eternal relationship lives in a particular kind of relationship. Our God exists eternally in the relationship of love. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The Father loves the Son loves the Father, and the Spirit. There is an eternal loving relationship. And so, love is real. Love is eternal. Love is eternal because before time itself came into being, God existed in a loving relationship of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Love is eternal. Love pre-existed this reality. Love pre-existed you. And love will continue long after this universe has expired because love is eternal. If you want love to be eternal, the Christian faith is the only game in town. There are no other options. You see, the doctrine of the Trinity, the idea that God is three in one, means that relationship is possible. Let's take the God of Islam, for example. The God of Islam is just what's called technically a monad, one entity, one God, one being, one person. You cannot say that the God of Islam is loving, because you need to beg the question, before the God of Islam supposedly created anything, who was this God loving? And the answer is no one, because there is no one to love. Self-love is no love. There is no one to love. And if the God of Islam has no one to love, then you can't say that love is intrinsic to who that God is. Love is only contingent upon his creation. Before creation came to exist, there was no love. So there's no love in the first cause, and so you should expect to see no love in the effect. And yet we experience love in the effect, which points us to love in the first cause. You can't have relationship with a God who does not enjoy a relationship eternally himself. It is the fact that we believe in an eternal relationship that allows us to have a relationship with him at all. Because relationship is central to who he is, his very character and nature, his very being. And he has created us for the very purpose of relationship with him. That is the purpose for which we've been made. And so it is the fact that he is relational that we are able to have a relationship with him at all. You cannot have a relationship with the God of Islam. And nowhere does Islam teach that you can. It's the same for any monotheistic religion. Any understanding of God that is simply presented as one God, one being. You can't have relationship with that being because relationship is not central to what that God is. It's an added extra that only comes as a result of the fact that he created something. Doesn't know what relationship is. Our understanding of the God of the Bible tells us about the very nature of reality and tells us about the very purpose for which we've been made. We are made for relationship. Relationship with him, relationship with each other, relationship with all of creation. That is how we are intended to live. We are relational beings created in the image of the relational God for the purpose of relationship. To isolate yourself from other people is to go against the very fabric of what you are. You see, to isolate yourself from other people cuts against the very grain of what you are. And that is why we see mental illness exposed in isolation. People who become more isolated, more alienated, suffer greater and deeper degrees of mental illness. When we isolate ourselves from each other, we isolate ourselves from the very purpose for which we were made and cut against the grain of what we are. How else can you explain it? Oh, evolution. How does that explain our relational nature? How does it explain? It may explain our desire to procreate. It certainly doesn't explain monogamy. It certainly doesn't explain one woman, one man loving relationship. It doesn't explain that. Many women, many men, sure, explains that, but not love. Not love and our deep need for relationship. Because we don't just desire to spread our selfish genes, we desire to be known and to know. We desire love. Why do we desire love, not just procreation? If we were the product of evolution, we would simply desire procreation, but we don't. We want more. We want something else. We want something deeper. We want to know and be known. Why? Because we are made for relationship with God, for each other, and for all of creation. And so when we isolate ourselves, we do damage to ourselves. So a life lived in pursuit of the true and living God who exists in the Trinity, in the three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, a pursuit of that God will result in a pursuit of community, not of isolation, not of removing oneself, but of binding oneself to others.